All right, in the last lesson, we did just a really sky level overview of some of the tools that I use a lot. There's a few more tools in that panel that we could explore. Feel free to explore those on your own time. But as far as the basics and getting a pretty comfortable foundation to know what to do, that's what we covered. Now what we're going to do is just quickly mock up a couple different logo ideas. And the purpose in this is so you can kind of see my workflow. And then what we're going to do is push pause. We're going to take a step back from our logo, maybe go mow the lawn, or maybe go do the dishes or something else. Step back and let your subconscious mind work a little bit on those logos, and you'll come up with some new ideas in the process. But in order for that to work, we need to try and make at least one or two logos so we can kind of start problem solving and letting our mind kind of fight through that a little bit. So I'm going to delete some of this extra junk that we were working on in that last video. I'm going to come back up here to my Derek Mitchell text that I've already outlined. I'm going to drag a copy. Hold on, Alt, click and drag. And I don't know, the first one that comes to mind is doing like a monogram. So I'm going to zoom in, hit the letter A to get my direct selection tool. And I'm going to click once on the letter D. I'm going to hit Command C to copy it, Command V to paste it. Now the problem with that, as soon as I deselect this and I go to move this, this is all grouped together. Oh, sometimes it is. This time it didn't group it. But sometimes these are all grouped together as one. So then what I would do, with that selected, I hit Command X to cut it so it removes it from that group, and then hit Command F to paste it back where it was. Okay, hopefully that made sense. It might not have, but just trust me here. I'll click one more time on the letter M. I'll hit Command C to copy, Command F to paste, and that pasted it right on top, so now I can drag up. I'll click off and click back. There we go. That's what happens sometimes. See how that left it as part of the other group? So to get rid of that or remove it from the group, there's a couple things we can do. One is just hit Command Shift G. It's the same as going to Object, Ungroup, and that'll ungroup all of the letters, which I don't want to do that though. I want to leave these still selected. So I'm going to hit Command Z. So there's still one group. A way to cut that out but still leave this all grouped, I'm going to hit the letter A, click once in here, hit Command X to cut it, which physically removes it from that group, hit Command F to paste it back. Oh, all that work. And now we have these as one group still, and now this is separated. Hopefully you're tracking with me, but it's just the way it is. It's just how we do this. Okay, so one idea I have is to reflect this letter D. So I'm going to hit the letter O to get my reflection tool, and it's fine in the middle. I'm just going to click from the left, holding down the Shift key, and drag to the right. So now it just reflected that. Now I'll move this over, and I'll kind of align these up together. So there's one idea. I'm going to drag this up, hold on Alt and drag a copy, zoom back in, and now I've got another idea. Let's maybe knock out this stem so it looks like the D is kind of coming off of that letter M. There's a few ways we can do this. The first, actually probably, let me just see what happens here. We're going to drag this right over the top, and I'm going to hit the letter M to get another rectangle, and I'm going to draw right over the top of this guy here. Stick with me here. And I'm going to use that to knock out this letter D. So what I'll do is I'll go to Window, go down to Pathfinder, and now with this window, this is kind of like the shape builder tool, but we can see what it's going to do here. So sometimes if you've got a lot of elements to work with, or in this case, I don't want to get mixed up with the letter M, probably the fastest way to work would be just Shift M, Command click on that, and now I can hold on Alt, let's see, Command Shift, click on that one too. So I've got the rectangle and the letter D selected, hold down Alt, and I can erase away from those. And see how quick that was? That works pretty good most of the time. Sometimes, if it doesn't, again, you could use this Pathfinder window, and whatever's on top, I can use this right here, the minus front, to subtract whatever's in front, okay? So now, but the problem with that is it kind of looks like a CM instead of a DM, which is not what I was going for. So that's not the greatest idea either. I'll stick that back up here. I'll bring this guy back down into play. I'll hit Command G to group them together. And now I can grab either one of these and they stay together. Okay. So, I mean, that's not bad. It's not a really good logo yet. It's just pretty basic and nothing fancy about it at all. So some things we can add to it maybe would be, let's take a look at some of our samples and see if anything sticks out. We could add an enclosure like this kind of crest look shape here. Or maybe do a two-tone option. And sometimes when you start adding colors, your logo will look better than it is. So let me show you what I mean. I just took a picture of that. Come up here, Command V to paste. Excuse me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the word Derek Mitchell, and we'll make it this darker color. And then the M, I'm going to hit the letter A to get my direct selection tool. The letter V selects everything, and since it was grouped, it gets both of them, but the direct selection tool gets just my A. Hit the letter I for my eyedropper tool, and I'll click on the darker color. Then I'll direct select by holding down the command key, click on that letter D, and click on that lighter color. So, I mean, right away, it's still not the greatest logo, but as far as like visually, like, I don't know, it's better, right? But it might be a crutch. It might be a terrible form, and we don't know that if we're starting to apply color, and we like the color, but then if we were to go put this into black and white, we might realize that it really isn't a good solution. So, and at this size, it looks like OM instead of a DM. So we have some issues there we need to work through. Okay, so that's part of my process for creating a look. And you know what? I don't want to spend too much time here, so I'm just going to drag a copy up, Command G to copy, to group both of these, so now they're one group. And let's play with this a little bit further. This time I'm just going to draw a shape around it. I hit the letter M to get my rectangle tool, Command Shift left bracket to send that to the back that we just did. And I'm going to make my fill white, and I'm going to hit X to bring my stroke to the front, and hold down Shift and click on this color. Now the reason why, if I just, let's step back, Command Z, if even though my stroke is in front, if I click on a fill color, this is a fill color, not a stroke color, it'll apply the fill color. By having my stroke in front and then shift clicking on a fill color, it'll force it to just fill the stroke. Okay, so there's another look, and even that, even just putting it in an enclosure makes it feel a little more like a logo. And again, that's probably a little bit huge, and I'm just trying to show you my workflow. I wouldn't suggest really this as a final logo, but this is how you get there. You kind of have to wade through some trash before you get that aha moment and you get that idea you like. So here's some other things we could do to add some visual interest. I'm just going to drag this copy over here. So I'm going to highlight these, hit Command G to copy. I'm going to come up to Effect. Let's go down to Warp. Let's try Bulge. Let's just see what that does. So I'm going to scale this back just a touch. So that kind of bulges it up. I like that. I'll hit OK. That's kind of cool. I'm going to drag a copy over here. Command G to copy those two together. Highlight that again. And now this time, instead of going up to Effect, down to Warp, if I do this, it'll try and apply another effect on top of this. Instead, I'm going to come down here to my Appearance tab, and I'm going to click on that. This is an effect being applied to it, and you know that because if we look closely, it still has the original shape showing up here, but it's showing the effect applied to it. So I can double click on that and come back in and dial in this effect. So maybe, you know, maybe we just kind of play with the vertical and horizontal scaling of this, and that could be a cool effect. Now, one thing you'll notice, again, this is an effect applied to it. If we want to make this actually the shape and we wanted to modify it, let's say I wanted to modify this inner shape a little bit. Well, to do that, what you need to do, highlight your artwork, come up to Object, click on Expand Appearance. There we go. And now it expands that appearance. One other thing you'll notice, though, this is still a stroke. If we click once on that, and this is still a fill. So if you wanted this stroke to be editable as a fill, what we need to do is come to Object, Expand, and then expand the fill and stroke one more time. And now we have this white fill behind it. If I change it to green, you can see it better. And then on top of it, we've got this other fill that's now this dark color here. And I can change that individually. So are you tracking with me? I hope so. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what's possible. So what I want you to do is work through some of these ideas you have, whether it's stacking the logo on top or to the left, or maybe it's creating wings, or maybe it's trying to, you know, fight your way through how am I going to make this shape, and try and explore the pen tool, the blob brush, and making something you like. Maybe come up with about 3 or 4 options, and then I want you to push pause. Like I said at the beginning, go do your dishes, or go mow your lawn, or go do something, maybe go to the gym, but let your brain be at rest. Don't do something that takes mental energy like your finances. Do something that your body can do, but your mind can think, and that's how you'll start arriving at good logos. It doesn't matter what we do in this first phase. It can be a bunch of garbage, but what it does is it forces your brain to start thinking about it. Think about in school when you had a project due the next day, and inevitably, the night before you ended up doing it, you're like, oh man, if I only had one more day, it would be so cool. And that's what we're doing here. We're kind of forcing ourselves to be in that final crunch, like pretending like it's due, but then you can step back and go, oh, okay, and then create some space for your mind to start solving problems with your subconscious. So, all right, so there's your homework. Create about 3 or 4 more looks. Just, I mean, even if they're garbage, just kind of play with it and just get them out here, hit save, and then step away for a little bit.